Okay, y'all. Tonight we got Ron up in the house. Mr. Ronald Murray. He's the owner of a barber school in Pennsylvania. Now, he did everything himself. He has a lot to share with you all tonight. I met Ron at a NACCAS conference, and he came up to me and said, I saw all your videos on YouTube. And I said, okay, wow, because I put a lot of information on YouTube, you all. We have even more information when y'all become a part of our team. There's more power in the fist than the finger. And I commend Ron because he did everything himself. Hopefully he'll come and join our community in the pack so he'll have a whole army of people to help him. But he's going to share basically how he got started. And Ron, what we want to do, can we go back to your childhood and you kind of bring us up to speed?
Sure, definitely. So when you say bring up childhood, I guess just how I grew up or how I started.
That's right. How you grew up.
Okay, so I want to say I started sweeping hair at like 12 years old. I was just like every other kid, wanting toys and wanting this and wanting that, and I had to take it upon myself that my parents wasn't going to get it, so I had to find a way for me to get my toys. And I remember riding in the snow and riding to the barbershop and just asked the man where I was always getting my hair cut, did he need anybody to sweep hair? And his first answer was no. He said, no, I don't need nobody. And when I was leaving out, I was getting on my bike and it was like snow and ice. He ran to the door and he's like, you really want the job? Like this was a movie or something. And I'm like, yes, sir. He was like, all right, well, you be here tomorrow. And I started sweeping hair at 12, started sweeping hair at 12 and did that till I was like 14. I still wasn't in the barber game yet. I just was exposed to it. Went through some troubles in life, just like a lot of other people, which led to incarceration and different things. But I want to say around the age of 17, I was graduating high school and I had a little bit of money from like a car accident that when I was a kid. And when I couldn't get the money till I turned 18. And at the time, my mom, she was a teacher, principal, and everything else. So she was like, you ain't getting this money till you go to school. So trying to outslick my mother, I figured I'm going to go to barber school. And of course, this was like 30 years ago. And she wound up paying my tuition in full, where I went to Tri-City Barber School, which was legendary in Philadelphia. And it's no longer open, but it's that very, very legendary. You talk to anybody from Philadelphia and they old school, they came from Tri-City Barber School. So lo and behold, I ended up in barber school at the age of 18 and started cutting hair.
So how was barber school?
Barber school in the beginning, I just was trying to learn. And it was, when I think back, it was intimidating. It was scary because when I was growing up, not everybody was going to be, you had to really be good to be a barber. Not like now where people are discovering it and practicing it. But back in the day, it was like, if you don't know how to cut, fade, and shape up and design, look, don't even try because they got some guys out here good. So it was scary. It was scary for me when I first went.
And so how much was haircuts at the barber school?
Haircuts was at that time was probably $6.
Okay.
$6 for adults and $3 for kids.
So you graduate from barber school.
So after about 6, 7 months, I kind of got good. The barbershop owners were coming in and they were like looking for barbers. So I took a job working in West Philadelphia at Jared's Barbershop, which is located at 51st and Walnut. and this is back in like 1995. Um, and I was making $100 a day cutting hair in West Philly. And making that $100 a day, it might sound a little ridiculous. I forgot to go back to school because I was chasing the money. So a lot of times I tell my students now, you know, before you jump into a job, get your hours first. Get your hours first, because a lot of mistakes I see that I made was I had got my hours, I wasn't finished, but I started getting good and started making money, you know? So after about, I want to say, I I went back, finally finished my hours, and I graduated in 1997.
1997. And
Yes.
then what you do?
So from 1997, at this point now, I'm working in the neighborhood barbershops. I'm still kind of young, still trying to figure life out, getting in trouble. And I wind up getting locked up. And getting locked up, I had to go away to like a juvenile facility. And at the time, I think whenever this happened, I had like some years that went by where I got arrested, was on probation, and I kind of like went on the run. So when they finally caught up with me, they sent me to a juvenile institution because I wasn't 21 yet. And sitting in this institution, I already had my high school diploma. I already knew how, different things. So I did have my hours from Tri-City Barber School because I never took my state board test. So with that being said, I was the barber at Vision Quest, which probably was in like 2000, where I was in a juvenile facility just doing all the haircuts. Kind of from there, barbering was kind of like a side hustle. It was something that I knew I was good at, but being young and not totally focused, I was trying to do a bunch of other things, which ultimately just got me in trouble. From there, I wound up going to Cheney University. And lo and behold, I'm at Cheney doing haircuts in the dorm, making a little bit of money. And we're like in the student activity center. Now, in the student activity center, they got video games and pool tables and different stuff. So we're just like kind of goofing off, college kids, goofing off in the student center. And a friend of mine opens this door and he's like, yo, come here. You're not going to believe this. He's like, it's a barbershop. So we kind of sneak in there because we didn't belong in there. And we're looking around, and this barbershop looked like it was from like maybe the 80s, the 70s. It was like an old school barbershop. So me having my certificate from barber school, we conjured up this idea to go to student activities and see if we can rent the barbershop, me and my friends or whatever. So when we pitched it to the lady, and the lady name was Miss Thor at the time, Cheney University, I'm giving her my whole spiel. I'm a barber. I got my license, and I can do this. I can pay rent. She reaches in her drawer, picks up the keys, and hands them to me. At this point, I'm like, oh, Lord, I done got myself in trouble. Because a college kid, I didn't have no money. I just was just talking game. So when I asked her, I'm like, well, how much is the rent? She was like, it's free. You're a student here. Just run it and make sure it's professional. So like my first barbershop was at Cheney University. And like, lo and behold, I cut so much hair and was hiring different student barbers to work for me. I actually forgot to go to class. I got wrapped up in running the business. And after 2 years at Cheney and running the barbershop, hiring people and going through barber wars with other barbers, I just decided to leave college and just be a barber full time. So leaving Cheney, I'm working in Philadelphia at it was like a famous shop called Jay's Sheer Magic. Jay Shear Magic was famous in Philadelphia because he actually owned 4 barbershops and 4 beauty salons connected together, and they were like strategically set up in the city of Philadelphia. And like if you cut at Jay Shear Magic, then like you was somebody special. You had to have a hand to be able to cut. So I kind of stayed with Jay Shear Magic for like maybe the next, I want to say 5 to 7 years.
And then when you left.
Okay, so Shear Magic. So one of the things that I learned about running barbershops is you will, if you're good and you're a professional, you will eventually blow up. You're going to blow. With you having success, you have to know at a certain point that you have to move on, because for me, it was like when I started getting successful, the people that I worked for, I felt like, I started getting bigger and better than them. I started having more popularity. That became a conflict now, because when you're working for somebody and you're your own boss, there's going to be conflict. So, at this point, I'm kind of like bumping heads with my boss, who was like my mentor and kind of showed me everything. And I wound up going, getting into the streets and just like going into a deep depression, where I didn't understand how I had become so successful, and like the same person that taught me everything, it had seemed like they did everything to sabotage me, where like they might was telling my customers I wasn't there. If I went to the store, they would try, it was just all kind of backdoor, vicious stuff that I went through. And now I use that to teach as a curriculum of how to be professional. I come from where a customer come in and like 2, 3 guys are running up to the door asking somebody if they want to cut. And if you get the cut, now they want to fight. I mean, I've been in some situations. So with that being said, I wound up leaving Jay Shear Magic, and I wound up linking up with a brother named Rick Gaskin, rest in peace, who owned Gaskin Family Barbershop in Philadelphia. I believe Rick was like from Glenside, PA. And he had like a little small shop. And ironically, the shop he had was at the corner of my mother's house where my mother lived. And this same shop he had, I used to sweep hair there when I was about 13. So I wound up working with Rick, and I wasn't ready yet. I mean, I was still 1 foot in the streets and 1 foot in the barbershop. And I just learned lesson after lesson, you cannot mix the two. There's no way you can be a professional businessman and then still be in nonsense. It's going to catch up to you. It's going to bite you. So at this point, I wound up getting rearrested and getting in trouble again and getting incarcerated, doing some time. And right before I was to be paroled, I called one of my friends, and he just happened to be at the barbershop. He was at Rick's barbershop. And he's like, yo, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, what you talking about? He said, when you get out, Rick is giving you the barbershop. So I'm like in prison, like, what? He giving me a barbershop? I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, I hear you. But when I got out, it was like my first day home. I was like, yo, give me a couple days to relax. He was like, nah, get your butt up to the shop. And I came up to the barbershop, and he handed me my keys, and I had, again, another free barbershop. But at this time now, I have to pay rent, but it was handed to me with 3 chairs and clippers and mirrors and the open sign, the barber pole, waiting chair. Everything was laid out. And this is where I didn't realize that God was blessing me and was trying to show me my value. you know, but my value was just like every other, young man that has grown up in our culture. You're looking at the guys on the corner. You're looking at the guys who, with the cars and the rims and, and I just had to learn the hard way that you can have those things, but you don't have to be a drug dealer. You don't have to be in the streets. You don't have to live that type of life. So at this point now, I've opened up Rick's shop and renamed it Philadelphia Style Masters. And I'm like hiring any and everybody I can because this rent, I gotta pay rent. And the rent is like $700, which at the time I'm like coming out of prison and trying to cut hair. And still one foot in the street, 1 foot in the barbershop. Wound up getting in trouble, and I wound up losing that shop. I lost the shop. How I lost it was I was partying every night, and the same people that were working for me, they watched me slowly lose it, where I wasn't coming to work, I wasn't paying the rent, I just was taking life for granted. And when the landlord came to evict me, he made a deal with the barbers that already worked there. And before you knew it, it was their shop. And like my chair went from the first chair to the last chair in the shop. It went from I couldn't even cut the new people, and my rent was raised astronomical. And a lot of people was like, well, why you staying there after you done lost the shop? I felt like by me losing, I still owed the people. There were like people depending on me to cut their hair. And these people were like loyal customers, even though I wasn't loyal to them, how I was living, I was still a barber. So with that being said, I stayed at the shop, and I even maybe probably skipped a part where I did 36 months in Montgomery County Prison, and I wound up being the head barber in jail. And like anybody that's been inside, to know that to be not just a barber, but that the title of a head barber in jail, like the captains and the lieutenants, they used to come get me in the middle of the night, get me out the cell and say, hey, we need a favor. This guy got to go to court. We need you to cut his hair. And I would, gladly cut the hair. And like, not only was I cutting hair in prison, I was the chaplain assistant because, I had my life was so much in shambles that I was just trying to find a balance in life, and I was trying to find God. But what I did not know was barbering was my gift, because from Cheney University to juvenile placement to Montgomery County Prison to, even just being a young guy that was in the neighborhood, God has just blessed me over and over with barbershops. And like I would just lose them, by just being ignorant and foolish. So at this point now, I'm working for my employees, and like these were childhood friends, and it hurt a little bit to see that the people that work for me, now I got to work for them. And it was even more painful because they were the same ones I was partying with. They just, I guess, was able to save their money. I spent all mine on everybody trying to be, Big Willie. But I don't have any regrets about it. I thank God I went through that. And I moved forward from there. I had found a building. I found a building, barbershop for rent. And I had told myself I'm going to save the money up, and I'm going to save up the first and last security, and I'm going to get that building. It was for rent. It looked like it was maybe a 4 or 5 chair shop, and I was like, I just got to focus and discipline. And the number one rule is never you got to keep your business, your personal and your business separated. And sometimes that can be hard when you have faithful customers that, you talk to and they share information. Where I'm going with this is I had shared information with my customer and I told him about the building, where it was at. And he went behind my back and called the landlord and he got the building. And he came to me with a proposition for me to work for him. And like at first I was just like, I went for it because I was like, I just wanted to have my own barbershop so bad because I lost mine. And I was like, the last man in the shop, and people were telling me what to do. And certain days I couldn't cut because they was in charge. So I just was desperate. And I wound up going to work at the barbershop. After about a week, I had realized I'm in a hamster wheel. I wasn't going to be happy. I wasn't going to be content. And I went back to the last shop where I was in the last chair. I couldn't cut on Mondays. My rent was high as I don't know what. And I just went back. And I realized, like, never run my mouth again about my business, because if you tell people your plans, they might execute, and they did. So lo and behold, God was still good. I want to say maybe about a month goes by. I'm happening to ride by the barbershop that I told the, a customer about. And I had noticed, it was closed down for like a month. Like he didn't open. And I called the landlord, and the landlord basically said, hey, where this location was at is in Philadelphia at 69th and Ogans Avenue, which is like right next to Ogans and Forest Avenue. And at that time, they were calling it like Murder Lane because a lot of killings was going on this block or in this area. And one of the reasons the barbershop didn't stay open because there was just too many shootings and people were getting killed. And the customer that he was my customer, but after he, hoodwinked me for the shop, I kind of left him alone. He just left the building because there was too many shootings. God gave me a vision and gave me a plan. And the landlord said, if you can run this barbershop, I will give you the first month free and let you move in. And the first month, I took the deal. First month was free, moved in. And every lesson that I learned from, telling your business to partying and not paying your rent and, trying to ball and be big baller and treat everybody, I learned that lesson. And I opened up. And what was really special about it was a lot of kids lived in that area. And every time a kid came, like they were so fascinated that it was a barbershop in their neighborhood because they didn't have anything in their neighborhood. Nothing but a Chinese store or a liquor store, but now they got a black barbershop. And I gave about, no lie, I could show you the pictures. I probably had about 7 to 8 shop boys working at the same time because the kids would just come to the barbershop and I'm like, yo, get the broom, you get the trash. You know what, you get the rake, you go out front. And all they really wanted was a couple bucks to maybe get some ice cream or, and when this happened, next thing you know, I bought a basketball court and put out front of the barbershop. And before I knew it, like all the kids, they hung at the barbershop. And like, my story is this, I'll tell you the truth. These were the kids of the people who were doing the shootings. And it was like the neighborhood embraced me as one of them. And it was like, word on the street is like, yo, don't let nothing happen to Ron, or, don't let nothing happen to the shop because the kids was there, and this was something that like, I just was doing because I knew I was a kid and how I used to, get in trouble. And like, when I worked at the shop, I was like kind of focused. the years that I wasn't at a barbershop, I kind of went to prison. So at this point now, I'm hiring every barber I can to try to pay the rent. And like, I even got stories of people pulling people off the street, putting the clippers in their hand. Like, people will come and say, Mr. Ryan, you need the grass cut, or you need this done, or you need the shop clean. I'm like, no, you know what I need? I need you to come over here, put these clippers in your hand. I don't know how to cut. I said, I'm gonna show you how to cut. Cause I used to have, like, no lie, man, I might have like 7, 8 people waiting on a haircut, and I'm by myself. And like, I took some of my friends, put clippers in their hand, and they became barbers. They became barbers, but this only came about because I had so much business, I just needed help. So at this point now, I'm kind of growing, and I got about 4 or 5 barbers working for me. And a friend of mine connects me with a teacher from Empire Beauty School. So Empire Beauty School in Philadelphia, and her name was Wadia Adger, and she's a teacher at Empire. She asked me, could I come teach a barber class at Empire? And I had never like taught in a class before, but I said, what the heck, give it a try. So put my shirt on, bow tie, go there clean, and it's like 16 females that I got playing barbering. And I actually took my friend, and we did a ball fade, and I used 16 different people to do the haircut, where I made 2 come up at a time, meaning like when 2 girls came up, all right, now you're going to put the baseline in, you're going to take the outliners, and she would do one section, and then the other girl, before you know it, it was 16 people who performed one haircut. And when the haircut was done, they couldn't believe how good it looked, because I basically just, each section I had to do, I just kept calling people up and say, all right, you did the baseline. All right, now you debulk it. All right, now you're going to start taking this line out, open the guard up and go all the way in it sideways, and you just do this one section. So my first shot was at Empire Beauty School. I mean, like, I killed it. From there, now I kind of got the passion to teach. From there, now I'm certain, I'm doing everything to get my teacher license. And at the time, there's like no barber school in Philadelphia. There was a couple schools, but whatever, they didn't stay open, and like they took the students tuition and just like closed on them. So there was like no school in Philadelphia for at least, I want to say, 5 to 7 years. So at this point, I do all the requirements to take the teacher test, and I drove to Harrisburg, which is probably like 2 hours away. I drove to Harrisburg and took the teacher test, passed the teacher test, and that's when I realized, I'm like, yo, there ain't no school in Philly, and it's also no teachers. Nobody knows where to get their barber license. So at this point now, I'm kind of doing little apprentice programs, and getting little students at this shop, and just kind of charging them, nothing major, where like I might have started out charging them $3,000, where you find a barber school is going to cost you about $20,000. So I started off with a few students like that. And ironically, there was a school outside of Philadelphia, and I won't mention the name just for respect's sake or whatever. But I will share that I had went to this school and I applied for a teaching job, and the instructor like made me shadow him for like 3 days. After about 3 days, I asked him, like, so are you going to hire me, or what you going to do? Because I can't sit here all day and just watch you. I own a barbershop. I got customers. And the instructor, or the owner of the school, was like, I think you need a little bit more shadowing, and you need to watch. I'm going to just fast forward. I seen that same owner at the NACCAS convention. And I'm glad I didn't listen to him, because when he told me I wasn't good enough to teach, I knew I was. So, so I'm just going to say that was like real big, that I couldn't believe the same guy that told me I wasn't good enough to teach. I'm sitting at a convention now getting accreditation, you know. But so lo and behold, I'm still kind of trying to um, find a teaching job. And somehow I come across a school hiring, which was in Bethlehem, PA. And I can mention that name, Lehigh Valley Barber School. I just seen the owner today, ironically. His name is Jeff Vito. So shout out to Jeff Vito, Lehigh Valley, Bethlehem, PA. But it was 2 hours away from Philadelphia. So every day I drove from Philadelphia to Bethlehem, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, just because I wanted to teach. So, after about 2-3 months, I just couldn't, it didn't equal out the wear and tear on my car driving every day and what I was getting paid, but I had wanted the experience of teaching. And like my first batch of students, I had them come to Philly and we did free haircuts and made the newspaper, made the news. So now we're kind of, I'm on fire with this teaching thing. And by me being, I guess, the head teacher at Lehigh Valley, or the only teacher, I was able to learn the system. I was able to learn, how to run a school. But I really got to give credit to my mom. My mom was a teacher. She was a math teacher for 35 years. So my mom was the type, when I came home, I tell my brother, you better say we got homework, because she's going to give us homework. I was a kid trying to go out and play, but I always knew what a teacher was, always knew what a school was. Shout out to my mom. She taught at West Philly High 35 years. So I already knew kind of what school was. And so now at this point, I'm working for Lehigh Valley. They wound up opening a location in Philadelphia. And I'm teaching in downtown Philadelphia. And the more and more I'm teaching, this goes back to, at some point, your success is going to elevate. And you have to kind of know when it's time to go and when it's time to stay. So at this point, I'm working downtown for Mr. Jeff Vito at Lehigh Valley. And things were building for me, and I wound up leaving. And when I left, I said, I'm going to open up my own school. And that's when the journey began.
Okay, so you say you're going to open up your own school, and what did you do? How did you?
So at this point now, I still have my barbershop on 69th and Ogons. The teacher from Empire, she had a little salon that she didn't want anymore, so she wanted to let me rent it. So now I got 2 shops, and my mother winds up giving me some investment money. Mom says, look, I'm gonna help you. What's your dream? What's your goal? Write the plan out. I wound up getting the money, and the old barbershop that I used to work at, called Jade Sheer Magic, it was for rent. And instead of logically mapping things out, I just instantly called the landlord, said, I want it. I don't care what condition it is, because I already knew, I've been there for years. Everybody knows the building, knows the location. I'm going to put a school in here. And what wound up happening was, it didn't meet the square footage. In Pennsylvania, you got to have 2 bathrooms for a barber school. It didn't have 2 bathrooms. The bathroom that it did have had mold. The wiring in the building was messed up. So basically, the money that my mom gave me to open a school, I flushed it down the toilet, because I made a decision based off emotions instead of logic. So that's another lesson I always tell people, is before you make a move, make sure you do your homework. You got to do your homework and make sure the building that you're getting is zoned correctly, because I've seen situations where people tried to open up barbershops or beauty salons, and it wasn't zoned. It wasn't zoned. Like some areas in Philadelphia, they have too many barbershops that they don't want any more barbershops. So you can't even open a barbershop, or a barber school. So that was a lesson I learned. So at this point now, I got the building. I just opened it up as a barbershop, and I still have my other two shops. And like, I probably have a total of like 15 barbers working for me. But that wasn't the plan. That was not the plan. The plan was to open a school. So at this point now, I'm still kind of looking for a building, and I finally came across one. And when I found the building, I kind of went back to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I found a building. She's like, nah, you lost my first money. You owe me. You ain't getting nothing from me. And I'm just like, I'm broken. I'm broken. And like, I went to every individual I know, and like, I was going to people like, listen, man, I need like 4,000. I need 7,000. I need this. I need, I was asking for big money. And like, two people gave it to me. Two of my childhood friends gave it to me. And so I was able to get the building. And what they didn't understand was me opening the school. Before you get the students, before you get the accreditation, you gotta build to it. So they just knew that they was like, I was getting ready to be a millionaire, and it didn't happen that way. So it was like I had some fallout with, my friends who, like, they invested their money, but with the return they was looking for was like unbelievable. So like, so we got the building. I got the building in January 2020. And this is when the fallout came. 2 months after I get the building, COVID comes. Everything shut down. So you mean to tell me I just put the money down on the building, I can't even get it inspected because it's COVID. The world is shut down. And I'm like, okay. The landlord was like, we still want our rent money. And I'm like, well, how the heck am I supposed to pay rent and we can't even open? And this is kind of where the fallout came with me and my friends or whatever. And like I told them, they didn't want to pay rent. And I held in there, and I survived. When I seen businesses that were open for 20 and 30 years close. I survived COVID, and grateful to say that whatever it took, whatever I had to do, I finally got my school inspected on September 11th, 2020. And when I say I passed inspection, like, I found barber chairs on the trash pile. I found mirrors on the trash pile. But I definitely have to give all the props in the world to Chen, because I watched your video, like, every day for like a year. I followed step by step. In your video, you talked about writing out your to-do list. The first thing you got to do when you come in is turn the lights on. After you turn the lights on, and I watched your video over and over and over and over. I'm talking about every day like somebody reads the Bible, because I listened to your story. And what made me listen to your story was I heard you was incarcerated. So I was like, wow, not too many people had that same story, not too many people, can say, like, besides going to prison and getting out, turning life around. But, when I was inside them walls, man, God was with me. God was with me to the point where, like, man, these hands and them clippers have brought me a mighty, mighty long way. So, now that I got the barber school open, at this point, I'm expecting my family and everybody to be proud of me, to be happy for me. That wasn't the case. It was almost like I was the guy that they didn't expect to be nothing in life. I was the family member who, whether I earned that title because of how I was living, but like I was truly counted out. So when I opened this school, it showed me who cared about me and who didn't care about me. And, how some people felt like I'm gonna be honest with you, some days I wish I didn't open the school because I lost friends. I lost friends because, you know what I mean? I really don't know what to call it, but success, whether it's a school or whatever it is, success will bring out jealousy. It'll bring out envy. It'll bring out, people will show you either they mess with you or they don't mess with you. Some people want you to win. Some people don't want you to win unless they win. And some people, guess what? They don't want you to win if you winning more than them. So what I had to learn about this school is to be humble. Sometimes I would get so happy, like I finally got some students, and the people that work for me, they looking at me like, well, where they part at? But I share that to say that being a school owner is a humbling experience. My advice is to, just like, with any kind of business, or if the streets or whatever, you got to stay humble, keep your business to yourself, keep people at arm's length. And, because I was like, when I first opened the school and I was helping so many people, I was letting people come to the barber school for free just because I wanted to teach. And what I learned is you can burn yourself out helping people, And so now I kind of like put a limit on how much I can help people, because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? You got bills to pay, you got insurance to pay, you got different things, utilities you got to pay. And when it's time to do that, or you don't want to give yourself up to where like, hey, listen, I got to be stern. You know what I mean? I've went through that, and like I'm even now at a point like I've been training people to get their teacher license. And it's like every time I train somebody to get their teacher license, as soon as they get their teacher license, their attitude switch up. They're not getting paid enough. They're not doing this. And all the jealousy and envy start coming out, like all the personal stuff, So with doing that though, I want to say that so many blessings have came from the school. We have we came state accredited with like Career Link, where we have a program through the state that if you have a disability, they'll pay your tuition in full. I've also started a nonprofit where giving those kids jobs to sweep hair and do stuff. I started doing a mentor program where the school is actually in partnership with the Philadelphia District Attorney Office, where young men that get in trouble, that get arrested, they come to the barber school, they do a 12-week mentor program, they get their record expunged. So we've been doing this for 2 years in the community, thanks to the school being there. And I've like trained so many people now, and doing the mentor program, I received a grant and I was able to open a second location. So that journey, I know I've been talking a whole lot, but even doing that, I have been in the NACCAS process for the last 4 years. And my advice is to definitely, you need a team. You need a team. I'm grateful that Chen reached out to me, because like I have probably spent trying to get accredited. I probably have spent over 4 years, $15,000, and I don't even have. I'm not even candidate status, meaning I have to start the process all over again, because I was paying consultants and different people to try to do stuff, and it came down to it like they didn't know what they were doing, and they were just taking my money. And when you're trying to keep your school going, you just sometimes you can get blindsided. You get tunnel vision where you just hoping and praying everything comes together. So I'm grateful that Chen reached out to me, and I definitely look forward to joining, your team. And today, actually, I decided to downsize. So I closed one of my schools. It was great to be able to say, yeah, I got 2 schools and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I got 2 rents, I got 2 utilities, I got 2 everything. And, it's just total, it was just too much. And what I learned with accreditation is you need to have your bookkeeping in order. You need to make sure you have a CPA. You need to have 2 years worth of bookkeeping. Like there's so many different things that you need besides just the classroom and a teacher. There's so many administrative stuff that you need, that now that I learned that, I'm closing one school so I can have the finances to be able to get accreditation. But I definitely want to say thank you for letting me share my story. And again, I look forward to joining the team.
Okay. Now, you remember when we met at the NACCAS conference years back?
Yes, sir.
So how was that?
That was totally awesome. And the reason why I say it's totally awesome, because the teacher that told me that I wasn't good enough to teach, he was at NACCAS to get his school accredited, and I was at NACCAS to get my school accredited. So it was unbelievable. And then when I came off the elevator and I saw you there, I had no idea that you was a part of that. Like I had no idea that you were. I mean, you gave the information on YouTube, but I didn't know you was going to be there. So when I seen you, it was just like, man, it was like my dream coming true. Like I'm living a dream, and but now I have to learn how to navigate. So it was awesome.
Okay. What was your mama saying when you was dealing with all this? Because when I went to prison, it broke my mama's heart, and I promised her that I would never do anything to make her cry and embarrass the family, embarrass her. She had a nervous breakdown. My sister went to prison. My dad had a nervous breakdown. So, because it sounds like you got a very great mother.
Man, her nickname when I was inside was Cold Gangster Rider, because she came every weekend, brought my daughter. She made sure I was good on the books. My mom just believed in me. Like she went through some stuff with me too. Like she had some nervous breakdowns, and like family members wanted her to just like throw me away. And like, but even to this day, my mom is my best friend. So like, everything that I do it to try to honor her. And like the most important thing that I probably left out through this whole story is she was dragging me to church. She was dragging me to church for years and years. Like I grew up in the church, you know what I mean? Parents divorced and all that, but I was a church boy, and I'm proud to say that, because now that I'm older and I go to church, for my own spiritual growth, not just to impress mom. But now it's like, mom is definitely proud of me. Our family, we come from a line of educators, you know. So like, you know, a lot of people, like my aunt in Texas, her name was LaRue Miller. She had a school named after her. She used to pick cotton. And this was in Midlothian, Texas. So like that was the biggest thing in our family. A school, a white school naming the school after a black person in Texas. So my aunt got her name was named on the school, that's when I said I'm going to open one. So now I just feel good that, you know, I'm in the history books now with the family. You know, I don't care what they say about me now because, you know, I got cousins that are lawyers and real estate investors and doctors, and my brother's a CPA, and I'm good to say, well, I'm just a school owner. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful to God, man. I'm not gonna lie.
So we got a lot of potential school owners on here, people that work in the shop, own the shop. They watch every week, they watch the videos. What would you recommend? What advice would you tell them?
So my advice is if you want to be a school owner, the first thing you need to do is study the law. You need to study the law that is in your state. Just me being a teacher, that is like the Bible of barber school. In my opinion, the textbooks that they use, they teach you about hair cutting, but it don't prepare you for the state board test. So the state board test, the most important thing is barber law. So if you want to be a school owner, you need to know the law. You need to know the law inside and out. And what that entails is you need to know how many mirrors, how many shampoo bowls, how much square footage. In Pennsylvania, the first barber chair has to be 10 feet from the door. You have to learn all of that stuff. So I definitely want to advise you to start there. Next is be ready to have your financial situation, your business account. You're going to need a bookkeeper to do your books. You know, recommending that if you can, you want to have a CPA, because from the time that you open your school on paper, you're going to need all of that. And I'm learning you don't need it just for NACCAS. You're going to need that for the military accreditation. You're going to need that for the state accreditation. And that's another thing, Chen. Like, another reason why I got burnt out is I was trying to do accreditation for the Montgomery GI Bill. I was trying to do accreditation for, we have what they call Career Link. And then at the same time, I'm trying to do accreditation for NACCAS. And when it came down to it, every last one of them wanted the same thing. They wanted 2 years of financial reports. And what that means is they want a bookkeeper, a licensed, certified bookkeeper, to be able to show these organizations that you have a financial system in place. And then even with that financial system in place, there's certain criteria where there needs to be a certain amount left in your bank account every month. And see, all of this stuff I kind of learned from going to NACCAS, because when you go to the NACCAS convention, first of all, before you even go, you have to be open 2 years. So being open 2 years, my strongest recommendation is know your barber law and get your professional bookkeepers in order. Your financial situation, meaning that you need a bookkeeper, you need a CPA. Now, if there's a way around that, you know, I haven't found that, but every time I go for accreditation, that's what they want. And like right now, I've been open for 4 years, but I've never got any bookkeeping. And in order for the bookkeeper to do 2 years, I think they were trying to charge me $1,000 a month for the last 2 years. So they wanted $24,000 to do bookkeeping. Where I'm like, you know what? I guess I got to start now. So, but yeah, that's definitely what I recommend.
Okay. Let me see. Now, so what's your next step?
So my next step is I'm closing one location to become more financially secure. That's number one. Number two is get back on the journey of accreditation. So like right now, I did the research. I found QuickBooks. I think it's called QuickBooks, where they're going to do my bookkeeping. They're also going to kind of show me how to, when it's time to do taxes, but I still have to find a CPA. So at least I found the financial system to do bookkeeping. So once I get all of that in order and I'm able to get 2 years worth of bookkeeping, then I can reapply for accreditation. So right now, my plan is just to become financially stable.
Okay. How many hours is your program?
1,250. 1,250, 9 months.
Okay. Document for state book. All right. Do you got time for a few questions?
Sure.